Boom.
Oh,
That went that went everywhere.
yes, it did. Hello, everybody. Welcome to. Oh, it's going everywhere. I'm spilling it. But welcome to episode 16 of the Gaming and
Ironic.
Drinking Cast. Yeah, we're going everywhere with this one. I'm Adam Gogan. I've got my buddy Travis Casey here with me today.
It's me.
Yes, sir. And we are here to snuggle your ear holes. And
Yep, that's a really good way to put that description.
Yep.
Definitely didn't make
we
squirm.
just like to get all warm and toasty, all up in your ear business.
Yep, that's our slogan.
Yep,
it says it right there on the podcast page.
Yep,
all warm and snuggly in your ear holes.
ASMR for your ear holes.
Oh, we got some ASMR. If you just want to do like a super cut of every beer opening we've ever done, every like sip and like.
I think starting next week, I'm going to introduce it like this. Welcome to episode 17 of the Gaming and Drinking Cast.
So you're like halfway to a NPR podcast at that point too. You're like an NPR ASMR mashup.
I mean, dude,
which is a good idea. Somebody had to have done that by now.
Half of the people that work at NPR should do ASMR on the side.
Yeah. You just want like Ezra Glass, like doing a little nighttime reading to you.
Oh God, I would love that. But anyways, yeah, we're here to talk about some booze and some games. Travis, what are you drinking here today, sir?
So I have Tartness Quest.
Okay.
From New Serum Brewing, the company I work for out of Salisbury, North Carolina. It is a cotton candy sour ale. Doesn't pour quite like you might expect it to. Looks more like a sour than the pinkish that you would probably anticipate from a cotton candy ale. But let's try it out. It's very good. It's cotton candy on the front end, sweetness at the top, a lot of tartness on the back end. Very, very tart on the back end.
You got an extra one of those over there?
I know that's the only one I have. And it's only available at the brewery. This is not in distro, unfortunately. I wish
Next
it was.
Next time you go up there, you should grab me one.
Yes, I will. I'm going there on the 16th. So
okay.
I know they'll have that. They're gonna have like 3 new beers too, by the way. Ukraine beer that they did for the like all the proceeds go to the Ukraine like United, I think it's UNICEF relief fund. And then they're doing 2 or 3 hardcore releases that I can't remember the names of them, but they all have like metal album covers as their can art, and they look super dope.
I love that.
Excited to try out all of them.
Y'all's head brewer must be a metalhead, or just like a hard music kind of guy, because y'all did the Pretty Hate Potion recently.
A lot of wrestling and a lot of metal.
And video games, Princess Peach.
Yeah, some video game stuff too. I think all 3 of those kind of go hand in hand if you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, I do like heavy music and video games and beer.
And wrestling.
I mean, I like the real stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Pre WWE.
Yeah.
But they hopefully people will come out for that. It's April 16th and New Serum Brewing out in Salisbury, North Carolina. If anybody wants to come, it's going to be dope. It's our 6-year anniversary. So,
I would love to be there, but I will be running in a 5K.
A fun run.
Yeah, a little fun run to get ready for the big run in a few months. That half. But anyways, I am drinking Munkle, which if you don't know Munkle, they're out of Charleston. They are an amazing brewery. I haven't had any of their beers that I didn't like. And they everything is really full bodied and just full of flavor. This one is the Brew City Brune. It is a Belgian style brown ale. It is 6.2%. Travis was over here the other day and he tried this one too.
It's a thick boy.
It's a thick boy and it just tastes like straight toffee. It is delicious. Smells like it too. Smells like caramel and toffee. Tastes like toffee. Great brown ale. If you're ever in Charleston.
Speaking of cuddling up in your ear holes, it's the kind of beer you kind of want to drink by a fire, like right? A little smoky, little warmth action coming off the side.
Yeah, I mean that goes great with this whiskey and Pepsi that I'm drinking as well.
Tell them about the Pepsi you got going on there.
So I decided to get this nitro Pepsi. This
Oh, it's vanilla. I didn't even see that.
vanilla nitro Pepsi. And it just like I wanted to try that and then mix it with some whiskey. So I have some Bullet whiskey here, some Bullet bourbon.
So
And
basically, Adam is doing the podcast equivalent of double fisting at the moment.
I mean, it's not even the podcast equivalent. It's just happening. This is just how I'm living life right now.
That bodes well for the on railsness of this show and its ability to stay on those rails.
Shot in the brew, Shelly, and keep them coming.
Nice. So how's the Pepsi?
Delicious. It just tastes like cream soda.
Okay.
I want to throw some ice cream in there.
Oh, that'd be good. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
I want an ice cream float. It doesn't even have to be an adult ice cream float.
But adult ice cream float with this would be so bomb.
That would be good. I'm down with an ice cream float no matter what form it comes in.
I got some Ben and Jerry's half baked in there. Let's get real weird with it.
I mean, that sounds like the kind you want to put on there. So not a bad option.
God. Yeah, so it's gonna be a fun one. We're here to get weird. So let's do that. I have been playing some games. I know Travis has too, but we got together the other day and played some board games. So if you are into board games at all, you're going to enjoy this episode. If you're not, listen, and you might start to enjoy some board games. Who knows?
there's definitely a big, wide cross section of people who enjoy video games and board games. They go hand in hand. I mean, a lot of video game systems are based on board game and role-playing systems that were developed pen and paper. So,
and this is
like a lot of people are going to be into that stuff.
Yeah, and this one is very heavily into the RPG dungeon crawling mechanics that have been brought forward in the video games now.
Yeah.
The game we've been playing is Descent. We actually got together. What was it, like 4 months ago when I first moved back?
It was like November, I think. So
yeah, October, November, something like that. And that was when like I had already played through like a bunch of missions with me and a couple other people when I was living in Florida, but I wanted to get a new game going when I came to South Carolina. So a few months ago, we played through the tutorial mission. That took a while.
It took about 4 hours.
Yeah. I mean, every mission takes forever. And, it's been such a distant time wise since we played it before. We kind of had to relearn a lot of the mechanics again.
We definitely did. Yeah.
And so, we spent a lot of time arguing mechanics and going back to the rule book. It was me and Travis, Travis's roommate, Sean, and my buddy Langston. Mm-hmm. And we each have our own characters. I am a necromancer. Travis, you are...
I am like a paladin. I don't remember the actual term in the game, but
yeah, you're like a tanky healer.
I got a big shield. I have a sword, and I do a lot of healing and buffing.
Mm-hmm.
So and then paladin class.
Yep. And then our buddy Langston is a straight up glass cannon. Like
yeah. he was putting some nasty spell combinations there. That really helped us out.
Yeah. Yeah, he was knocking motherfuckers out left and right, but it's like he would have to like go in and then scurry out. And I think we were starting to get the hang of how to like replace one player with another player in the room situation to like prevent each other from going down, except when we got toward the end.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to that. But Sean, what was Sean? He's kind of like the ranger.
He's the ranger. Yeah.
So he can do range damage, but he also can kind of get into the thick of it because he could heal himself. He's also got a pretty good like group heal as well.
He has an AoE heal that also damages monsters if he gets the right like initiative check for it.
Yeah, he has to get a good roll, and then he can do like 2 damage to the monsters and heal everybody for 1 health point. And yeah, dude, we did this past week. So we're going to I think we should try to do that like every couple weeks if we actually want to get through this campaign.
Yeah. Cause we started at like 4:30 and we ended at close to 9:30 and we did. And so we started and we were like, should we do it was like wait 3 weeks and you can do like the next main quest. We'd already gone to town from the last mission. We'd already sold our items and bought new items and things like that. So like, what should we do? And there were 2 side quests available. And I think our thinking was like, why don't we do one of these side quests? It'll be kind of quick. And then we can maybe jump into the main quest and see how that goes. And that is not how it went.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We started the side quest, and it started with a cool little like scenario tag, I guess you would call it, like the girl with the cat. And
yeah,
you can choose
there's little mini like in between going from mission to mission or town to mission before the mission even starts. You kind of can come across stragglers in the roads and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. And we came across a girl with her cat, and it was the option was like give her like money, help her find the cat, or say like basically fuck off kid and let her go by herself. And we chose to try to help her find the cat. We didn't find the cat, but we inherited, like we had to roll to see if we got some kind of trap or something.
It was
right?
disease.
How did we get that? I don't remember how that came about. Something happened in the search for the cat that we all had to roll to see if we got diseased, which is like a status ailment.
Yeah. So we had to do a stat check. But I can't remember exactly what the scenario was. Like we were helping her find her cat. Then she decided that she was done looking.
She said he's probably back at the house or something like that.
Yeah. No, she said he's probably off on an important mission.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so
she was like, we're giving up. And so we got nothing out of it basically, except for disease. But it did say some, like she basically implies that the cat is doing something. So he's probably going to show up later in the quest scenario. I feel like he's going to come back later. Like that's my guess.
I think so too. Cause there's no way. I mean, well, there is a way that it would just be like something just to mess with you.
Or she's going to come back as like an all-powerful witch, and instead of like attacking it, she's going to be like, thank you for your kindness to my kitty. Like, and the cat's like a giant dragon or something like that.
Right.
You know? Like,
yeah. My cat's back from his quest. Now he's a giant tiger.
Yeah.
Speaking of cats, have you ever played Cat Quest?
The mobile game.
I mean, I played it on Switch. I don't think it's a mobile game.
If it's the same, it's like blocky kitty characters and stuff.
It's like a hack and slash RPG.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a mobile game? I think it was originally a console game and then it went to mobile.
No, it was originally a mobile game that got ported.
Really? Because it plays really well on the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of decent, mobile games nowadays. But I remember that when that one came out, it was like a really, really big deal.
It's a good game.
People really dug it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have not played it. No.
Yeah, they got Cat Quest and Cat Quest 2, and in Cat Quest 2, you can play as a dog.
Wow.
Yeah. It gets real
really
crazy. I bet her cat is the cat that's going off and doing Cat Quest stuff.
It's a shared universe.
Shared universe between Descent and Cat Quest.
The CCU, the Cat Cinematic Universe.
Oh God! Or it's the DCEU, the Descent Cat Extended Universe.
Oh, wow! Connections to both of them.
And then you got the Flash coming in, doing his thing,
getting arrested
because it's the DC. It would be the DCEU.
Okay.
The Detective Comics Descent Cat Extended Universe.
I don't know if I want to visit that universe. That's a little too much for me. Questing cats and the Flash maybe a little too much for one scenario.
Oh man. But yeah, anyway.
we went through we did that, and then we started the quest, which was like explore a cave or something, a dungeon.
Yeah, but well, it was there was rumors of a
that's right, treasure,
a sunken ship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like a shipyard, but it's been flooded, and there was supposedly like a treasure there, but everybody who's gone and looked for this treasure has never come back.
Yep.
And so we decided, yeah, let's go find that treasure.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did, and it was
cool. We went through the board spread out. It started out as like 2 board pieces, and then I think by the end of it, it was 7-ish.
Yeah. So we should say, for people that don't know what Descent is, it's kind of like D&D light. Except the cool part, and the reason that I bought this game instead of trying to get a D&D crew together, is because like us four, me, you, Sean, and Langston, we are the only people that I know in Colombia that I would want to play a game like this with.
Right.
And with four people, you know, you could play D&D, but then you got one guy who's going to have to DM, which none of us have ever DM'd. And you want, if you're going to do your first, if it's going to be all of our first game of Dungeons and Dragons, one of us should be experienced. And I know Sean kind of is. But I know we all wanted to be the heroes and none of us really want to DM. And so with Descent, the really cool thing about this is it's all controlled by, you can either play the app on your phone, your tablet, your PC, whatever. And so this computer app does all of the DMing for you. Like you click through and it tells you like, this is what's going on. This is where you need to go. This is how you need to have the board set up. And it tells you as you go through the game.
Yeah. And so you lay down the board pieces as you go through a door, a new board piece gets laid down. It tells you when to spawn monsters in. It tells you when a trap goes off. It also gives you like the weird edges of a scenario. Like in this one, there was these tentacles throughout the whole dungeon, which ended up fucking us up a lot, actually, even though they only have 1 hit point apiece. They didn't die easily. So
they KO'd Langston one time.
Yeah, and a really funny thing that we figured out later, we shouldn't have done that way, but
yeah,
just really, really, really good stuff. The computer program, I think, is what makes this game for us, because we don't have to worry about every single little rule. Like we still have to do like the basic mechanics of it, but as far as like adding the monsters to the board and what is contained within each treasure chest and where keys are located or where monsters or where traps go, things like that, it takes care of all of that stuff. And it tells you when to lay down a new board piece and yada yada. And I think for us, it really, like, as long as it took us to do, it would have taken us way longer if we didn't have that computer program laying it out for us that way.
Yeah. It's a really cool addition to a classic gameplay. I really appreciate that they did that, because I've always wanted to get into D&D, but I've never had a group of people to do it with. And this is like a fun way for, like, you can get your friends together and all of you can be inexperienced and nobody feels like they don't know what they're doing, because nobody knows what they're doing. And it's okay because you have an app that will literally walk you through it. So it's kind of handholdy as far as like tabletop RPGs go with that stuff, but that's perfect for our group.
Yeah, in a good way for us, for sure.
Yeah, so like it's a great like first like deep tabletop RPG. I want to play Gloomhaven really bad, and I know that they have the PC version. I think me and you should definitely get into that.
If we had like 1 or 2 more people, I think that'd be perfect. We just
or we could play Divinity 2.
I'm down for that, as long as the co-op works the way that I want it to. But we should definitely get one of those games and try it out, because I would love to see that.
I know that my friend Keith and his friend Ethan, well, my friend Ethan too, also in Charlotte, they both played through the entirety of Divinity 2 together on PC, and they said they absolutely loved it. And they are in a D&D group up there. And actually Keith, he has invited me. Keith is now DMing a D&D group up there, but they're doing it all over some kind of like PC remote play kind of thing.
Yeah, there's like a website that you can do D&D for, and it keeps up with all that stuff for you. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so he's invited me this Thursday. They're doing they play every Thursday, and he invited me to come watch this week, and then if I like it, I might jump into that D&D group in like a week.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah.
So I do want to mention before we get off of this, the cool thing that happened at the end. So we spent a little too much time in the dungeon, and the AI started
starts fucking with you.
It started punishing us. It started punishing us for it. There were like minor threats that kept popping up, and then at the end, after we got like the main objective, because we should say we spent a little bit of time in like the treasure room popping on these chests, because we thought the keys were located in the chest, and then we could open up the other chest after we found the key. But it turns out that we had to go through another door and go to another part of the dungeon and then find the key, which was like hanging on a wall. And then we could go open those chests up.
Yeah,
so
we wasted like 3 or 4 turns in there.
Yeah, and I think
which,
that's why we got the minor threats and stuff coming at us. But at the end, the major threat spawned, which was a giant dragon.
Shadow Dragon.
And
Yeah.
the shadow dragon, yeah. And that ended up killing us, killing me twice in a row because I couldn't get away from it. And killing Langston one time, I think. And he hit it a bunch of times with his glass cannon fucking abilities. I mean, he was just doing, because it had like what, 28 hit points or something like that, which is
20,
for this game.
Yeah, 25 or 28, something like that.
Which for this game is massive. Like most enemies have 4 or 5. Even the big enemies have like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So he had 28 hit points, which is huge. So he was just hammering it away. And I got killed on the last turn. And we basically had to make a decision where, well, we thought, we didn't know the game worked in this other way, but we thought we could either open up some of these chests with the key we had found, or kill this dragon and get out without dying, everybody dying.
And we were like, we gotta open, we came here for gold, we're leaving with gold.
Right.
And so
very much to the detriment of some of our lives. I went down, mine in particular, yeah. But I went down, and this is one of those classic things that you hear people talk about, and like it only comes from role-playing tabletop games or some games like XCOM, where you know some of this crazy wacky stuff can happen because of dice rolls and RNG and stuff. But I could bring myself back up at the cost of a life, and we were like,
we should say you have the game, you start the game with 4 lives total to share between the 4 of you, and Langston had gone down once and you had gone down twice. And when you res back up out of being knocked out, you at most are going to have like 4 or 5 health, which that dragon could easily take out in 1 hit. So
usually it's 1 or 2 health.
So we had one life left.
Yeah.
And me and Travis were sitting there arguing about like, Travis was saying like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to hit this dragon and he's going to die. And it's going to be great. Cause the dragon, we had knocked him down to like 2 or 3 health left.
It was 5 hit points.
It was 5.
So
okay.
It was 4. It was 4 hit points.
And I'm like, dude, Travis, you were literally like under the dragon's feet. If you res right now, it's just going to stomp you. And then that's going to be game over. That's our last life. No, we're not doing that. And we were asking around the table and we were arguing for so long that Sean, he was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. And Langston was, I don't know whose side Langston was on.
I think he would eventually. Well, the good thing is with these kind of games, it comes down, like we can discuss it in committee, but it ends up coming down to the role player's choice. So like, it came down to me. And after Sean was
and like, you're like, I'm getting up. I'm getting up.
I was like, I'm getting up. I'm going to try it. And so I got up and I clubbed the dragon, and I basically did the equivalent of a crit on him. And
you got a great roll.
And he went down. And so then we found out that not only should we have ever been worrying about that stuff, because we got every single treasure in there.
Oh yeah.
At the end of it, without having to open them, we just awarded it to us. So we need to remember that for next time.
I don't know if it's going to be the same next time. It switches it up.
Come on.
I'm serious.
Do the same fucking argument again when we get
I'm serious, dude. It changes. It changes.
We should maybe open up every single treasure chest.
No, because I did some of these missions before. And like when I played through this game before, and it doesn't happen like that every time. I promise you, it does not happen like that every time.
Okay.
I was playing one where we made it out, but you know, we didn't get.
I think
anything.
if you run, like if you escaped.
No. We killed the boss, and it was like, okay, but you didn't get any of the treasure. Like, I swear, I've gone through missions where that happens in this game. It might have been a main mission. I
think you just want to keep the drama alive, and I'm for it. So
I'm serious.
So, but yeah, we got all the gold, and it was really funny and a great way to end the whole scenario.
And we ended up going, because we got all that gold on that side quest. We got to go back to town. We had extra gold. We all got new weapons and new armor.
You don't get any XP for side missions, we should say.
Yes,
it's
but I think
gold.
So we now have 1 week left till we have to go do that next main mission, and we're in town. So I think we can, if we stay in town, I think we can give 1 XP point to one of us.
Oh yeah.
Which that will take a week to do that. So then it'll be time to go do the next mission. So I think we should do that next time we all get together, is decide who's got the best next ability to get for the team. Yeah. And that's going to be another 30, 45 minute conversation of who has the best. who has the best ability for the crew. And that's the cool thing about it is like these games, they plod along at such a slow pace, but like you're doing it all together. And so it's just like you get immersed in those scenarios and in this quest that you're on. And
and the conversations are usually pretty lively and often hilarious. So because you start coming up with like ridiculous, things that you want to try, or like ways that you think it might go, like your role might go or whatever, and you end up having these really funny discussions that are quite entertaining.
Yeah, the one thing that annoys me is Sean and Langston's, oh, you just gonna walk around that corner? Yeah. Are you just gonna shoot? you think you shoot through that square?
Listen, you can lean over and staff it away from,
I'm like, dude, this is just how this game's mechanics work. Deal with it. We've looked through the rule book 30 times. But yeah, Descent is great. We're probably going to play that again in 2 weeks. I know you've got your thing on the 16th. I've got my thing on the 16th. I think we're going to try to get to on the 17th and play another round. Get through that main mission. And then after that, so we got this main mission coming up. I think the round after that, we should start earlier in the day and do like a side quest and a main quest in.
Sounds good.
That would be
fun.
Wild. We also ordered pizza, drank soda, and had a giant bowl of chips rolling around.
It was very much in the vein of like a classic 90s, 2000s nerd party. It
was great. I absolutely loved it. And also we should say that we had my table moved into my living room in front of my big TV. And then, because normally when you play these games, like you have a laptop out and everybody has to stare at this tiny little laptop. But I mirrored my screen from my computer to my TV so that like I was facing away from the TV and I had the laptop and I was kind of running that. But everybody else, instead of having to look at my tiny little laptop, could look up at the TV. And I think that was like super cool.
Very, very entertaining.
And then also we had a playlist called Dungeons and Dragons background music.
And it was awesome.
Playing off my speakers, which was like it was like Lord of the Rings. And
it was a lot of Lord of the Rings.
I remember the first song that played was from Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and I'm like, I'm gonna like this.
It was very good.
Good times. Very good times.
What do you say we take a break, reload, and come back and talk about some more games?
Yeah, we'll talk about some actual video games this time.
All right.
All right, everybody. Good. Stay tuned. We will be right back with more booze and games. Did you did you already open your beer, or do you still drink the same one?
I'm still drinking the same one. I felt like this, at the Switch Nintendo Directs, where he goes like they do the snap thing. That's what I was going for there. I was emulating that.
Oh god.
There you go. You like that. That was a good one.
Well, I thought you were getting a new beer, so I chugged the rest of mine.
Oh, no, I didn't. Oh, nice. Great.
So I am drinking Rain by Birdsong. I'm pretty sure it used to be called Purple Rain, and then they got a cease and desist from Prince.
It's exactly what it is. And what's funny now, I feel like they're going to get a cease and desist from the Salt people, because it looks just like the cover of that.
Oh,
Salt.
Hell no. There ain't no way.
It looks just like it. It looks just like it.
Morton's?
Yeah, or whatever the one. It's a little girl holding an umbrella.
Yeah, that's Morton's.
With the salt. Yeah, it looks just like that.
No. It's still, I would think that Prince would be the one, because it's still Purple Rain on.
No, it doesn't. But it doesn't say Purple Rain. So that all they wanted was the title. Okay. They don't care if it's punny and they make it Purple Rain, because it's still literally Purple Rain.
It says fabulous and funky. Rain Fruited Sour is a smooth American sour ale with blueberries and strawberries with big berry notes and a hint of effervescence. This beer is juicy on the palate with a pleasant, clean finish.
Very, very good.
I have not had this one yet. This one is from Birdsong. They are in Charlotte. I do sell this beer.
What's the ABV on it? It's like 5%, right?
It's 6.2.
6.2. So it's about what I'm drinking.
So let's see.
Wow, very similar color to what I'm doing.
Yeah. It's a little thick.
Thick.
Kind of a thick boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. I like that color.
good.
It is very similar to the one you have.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I should say, cheers to the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks.
Congrats, Lady Gamecocks.
National champions, baby.
Hell yeah.
Women's
Much
basketball.
deserved. Second one.
Ooh, that is delicious.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, Rain's very good.
Wow. Dude. That's like on my list, on my short list there of like sours.
Yeah.
And I drink a lot of fucking sours.
We did when I worked for Comer, we did an event at Homeland to debut that beer. It was awesome. Very good time.
Yeah, I did a Birdsong event there not too long ago. Oh, that's good. That's real damn good. If you ever have a chance to try this and you like sours at all, highly recommend. It's got a little bit of the strawberry and blueberry on the front end, and then it's just tart, but like I said, a super clean finish on it. It's not like that finish that's gonna like clench your jaws up. You kind of get that in the middle, but then it like just that is amazing. That is a really fucking good beer.
Yeah. Cheers to good sours. I feel like sours in the past few years have come a long way as far as people's opinions of them go. But I feel like a lot of like bros still don't respect the sour, and they really should, because it's a great style of beer. I'm a very big fan.
Same. I have been ever since. I think I've liked sours since about 2014, 2015 is when I first tried the Westbrook Goza, and that I tried that, and then I drink like the Anderson Valley Goza.
The Anderson Valley one is very good.
But those were like my first ones that I tried, and that was when I was living in Savannah. And so I would always go out on the beach on like Tybee Island, and that would be what I would take out on the beach with me like back then. And I know like in the last couple of years, sours have come a long way. It's like,
now people are just dumping fruit and chopping them up.
Yeah, it's crazy. It used to be just like, here's a Goza, here's a kettle sour. That's what you got. But they were good back then still. But yeah, this one, it's kind of just a nice take on that classic sour. It doesn't have all the lactose and all that, which I like. But, after drinking 80,000 of them, it's nice to go back to just like
a clean sour.
Yeah, for sure. So you're still drinking the new serum?
The Tartness Quest. Speaking of Cat Quest.
Gotcha. This one has some definitely has some stuff floating around, and I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of
looks like some strawberry or something.
Yeah, it's probably pieces of the fruit or puree.
Yeah. So anyways, yeah, this was just brewed last month, so
fresh AF.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I think they actually just they did like a 1 month brew of that stuff. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it's usually in pretty limited supply. It goes pretty fast.
Yeah. But anyways, let's get back into the games, man. What have you been playing video game wise? I know we were talking about board games for a while, but what about some video games? What you got?
So I played. I was really excited about this game because it's from Arcane, or former Arcane developers, the guys who made Prey, which is one of my favorite games of the last generation, Dishonored, which I really like, and Deathloop. Some guys split off from them and formed a studio called Red Eye or Eye Patch Wolf Games or Eye Wolf Games, Red Eye Wolf Games. I can't remember the name of it. We'll look
Gotcha.
that up. But
Wolf-Eye.
Made a Wolf-Eye Games, and it's put out by Devolver, so it has that Devolver flavor. You know what you're getting when you get a Devolver game. They put it on Game Pass. It's a game called Weird West, and it's a game I've very much been looking forward to. It kind of, like in the screenshots, reminded me of like an XCOM. It's a top-down view, isometric, set in the Wild West, where there's like supernatural happenings going on. So it's got the very, very like Tombstone film-esque version of the Wild West, where you've got like cowboys and outlaws running around. And then on top of that, it's got some supernatural stuff. So it's very like, you know, basic in its premise of Wild West stuff, but then you'll go to like an encampment of bandits, and it'll be like a bunch of bandits, and then all of a sudden there's like a ghost that's in control of the whole camp or something like that. Like that's the kind of supernatural elements it has.
Are you enjoying it?
So
because I'm looking at screenshots. I've not. I think I watched the first trailer for this when it was announced what was it, like a year or two ago?
It's been in development for a while, yeah.
And I think that's the last time I saw anything about this game. But I'm looking at screenshots of it right now, and I am digging this art style. It's like like Borderlands, but like a little crisper.
Like a top-down
isometric
Borderlands.
Yeah.
Okay, so yes, that part is all very good. And here's the thing: it is very much in the vein of the arcane style games. It's an immersive sim, so you get to approach these scenarios that they put you in, and they do put you in scenarios because you're not. I thought this was going to be a game like you create a character and you go through the game like an RPG style. That is not what this game is. You are playing through like 6 individual scenarios with scripted created characters. So like the first one you go to is like this woman who at the very beginning you like I didn't know what was going on because I was like, did I miss the character creator or something? Like I clicked on it and you go through the thing, you get branded, and you're branded with like a hood on, so it makes it look like, oh, my character's under there, so that's why you can't see him because you haven't chosen their features yet. But when it goes to it, you're just playing as this woman, and she's like a former bounty hunter, and it starts off, I mean, literally the first 5 seconds of it, they shoot your kid, kill him, and then kidnap your husband for some reason. So the whole scenario is that of you like trying to track these people down, figure out why they did this, and yada yada. And she's like, it's literally John Wick style, where she's buried her like former gear in the backyard. You go dig it up, and
hell yeah,
very cool, right? So that's what I was saying. Like, I'm super into this.
Jeanette Wick.
Unfortunately, yeah, yes,
that's her name. Right?
Then you start playing the game. And I don't know what kind of impression you get from the screenshots. Tell me what kind of game you think this would be from the screenshots.
So let's see. It kind of, I see the isometric part that you're talking about, but I also see some behind the back stuff.
Some cover stuff, or maybe. So it kind of maybe makes you think of like an XCOM-y type thing.
Maybe that, or so I see this one screenshot that looks like, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen with you, and this will show on the, advanced, blah, 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 share screen. All right, I'm going to share my Google search with you. All right, you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so you see this? So this looks like some like Wild West Hotline Miami.
Hotline Miami is top down directly. This is more
isometric. But I do like, I'm talking about like the way you're in these different rooms that are all bordered off, and you're kind of running through, and like I see the guy with the pool of blood there. She's got a gun pointed. Like that's what I'm thinking, like kind of like a Hotline Miami type. But then I see this.
Yes, so this is what made me think it was like a XCOM-y type game, where you've got like characters and you're like making decisions. That this is not that game.
And then I see this. This looks XCOM. This right here
looks very XCOM.
But then this looks like Diablo. Like, like what is happening in this game?
All right, so let me explain it to you. It is basically a twin stick shooter.
Okay.
Which sounds cool, but it does not. It's very finicky in its controls, and doesn't exactly. I guess because I went into it thinking it was going to be one thing, and it turned out to be something very different. That's probably on me, but I can't get past the gameplay portions of this game because I think the story stuff is pretty fun. So basically, you would go through each of these 6 scenarios, and then the last scenario is like all of these people teaming up. So assuming they're all alive, because I think they can die. I'm not sure, but I think they can die at some point.
I think that was something I said or read, was that you can, everybody can die. You could literally kill every NPC.
Well, you can kill NPCs, but I'm talking about the main characters.
So I mean, I assume that if you can kill the NPCs, that your team could also die.
But also, if you die, then the game goes to a game over screen. So I don't know. There might be a way to like die in the last. What I mean is like the final mission of that storyline. Maybe there's a way to die and you don't have that person based on the decisions they
Okay.
made.
Gotcha.
Because if you die, you just die and like restart. But I think there's probably a way that you don't get everybody in there. And you also run into these characters, I should say, throughout the scenario that you're playing through. So you'll see like you'll see Jeanette Wick somewhere else in somebody else's game, and you can talk to her and maybe even recruit her for what you're doing in that
So
scenario.
you're playing through 6 scenarios with 6 different characters, or are you Jeanette Wick the whole time?
No, you're playing through 6 different scenarios with 6 different characters.
Okay.
So and then like I said, they team up like Marvel Cinematic style at the very end, and then you play through this final scenario, which I had not even come close to getting to, because the gameplay, I think if this were that same setup but with XCOM style controls and gameplay, I would be so into this. But the twin stick shootery vibe that it has is not what I was looking for. So like you can still do the arcane thing of like, do I want to go in hot? Do I want to go crouch, quiet, whatever? Like you can still do all of that stuff, but it's not, it doesn't feel sad. It feels like you're not doing it right. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of immersive sims where you're like, I don't feel like I'm quite nailing this, and I feel like I'm doing something wrong. And that's how I feel constantly in this game. And then it always ends up in like a shooting gallery.
So was Hotline Miami the closest guess that I got there?
Kind of, but it's nothing like Hotline Miami is like 30-second, vignettes.
I know, but I mean just control. Restart. I mean control wise, like as far as the gameplay,
not really,
goes.
Because Hotline Miami is like super tight and feels really good. I mean, I guess like the basic setup is kind of similar, but it doesn't feel anything like you'd have to see it in motion. Like it doesn't feel anything like Hotline Miami.
Okay. That's really, this is all really disappointing the shit out of me, because like everything I'm looking at from these screenshots just looks like a game that I would dig.
You're telling me. That's why I've been looking forward to it for so long. Like I'm telling you, I really, this has been a very big disappointment to me unfortunately. And I really can't get past, like, I love all the dynamic systems they have. Like you said, you can kill every single NPC in this game. If you kill a quest giver, you lose that quest. You can kill like shopkeepers and things like that. Like it's got that old school kind of Elder Scrolls feel of like, I can fuck this whole world up, just leave a massive bodies behind me. But like, it doesn't feel satisfying in the way that you kind of want it to because of the gameplay. So unfortunately, this is a disappointment for me.
Oh, that sucks to hear, man. That really sucks to hear. I was really hoping you would come in with some glowing things to say about it.
I really thought I would. I've been looking forward to this game for like 2+ years, and it sucks to say that stuff. It really does.
So. Yeah, that art style though, you got to appreciate the art style if nothing else about this game. I
appreciate the art style, and I appreciate the story stuff. I like everything they're doing in the game except for the act of playing it.
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough, because that's a big part of games, unfortunately, is it's how much fun they are when they are to play.
You'd have to like see the game in action, and like the way that the controls work. It just never feels good. There's no like snap to targeting, like in a lot of these overhead style games, like especially like you remember the Ascent, that kind of game, like you could snap to targets in that. This does not have that kind of like quick. It doesn't even, do you remember how the Ascent felt? It doesn't even feel that good, which I don't think the Ascent felt overly great as it was. It doesn't even feel that good. So
I mean, I do, we should play some Descent. I do like the way Descent played.
The Ascent.
Shit, Descent. Jesus. I do like the way Descent played too. Also, fuck me, the bourbon and beer in the first section.
Yep. Leaning into frame. I feel you.
Yep. I just want everybody to get this nice look of my Afghan that my grandmother made me. Oh man. So yeah. What else you got? What else you got with Weird West?
I was playing a little Legend of Dragoon last night, and my Steam link kept notifying me that Gaming and Drinking was repeatedly trying to play RetroArch. What was going on there?
Well, you kept talking about how easy it was to emulate stuff. So I downloaded RetroArch on Steam. I then I went into the different cores they have, like for the different systems. They didn't have any of them for PSX or PS1. So I went and
Yeah, they
looked
do.
like
They do.
not initially, not the ones I didn't see one.
In the DLC. You got to go under DLC.
Well, okay, that's yes.
Yeah, it doesn't come with any cores. You have to download all of them.
So I went in, I didn't do it from Steam. I did it from the RetroArch menu. If you go into RetroArch and go to load cores and then go to download cores, it's a giant list of cores. And so I went down to the PlayStation one, and it actually does come with some. There's like a couple NES cores and SNES cores and that come ready to go on RetroArch. But I was looking for a PlayStation one, so I went into Google and was like looking for the best one for a PlayStation because I just wanted to see how I could make PlayStation games look and play better on my PC. And from what I could see, Beetle is the emulator to go on. So I downloaded Beetle, started, and then the first game I wanted to see was Dino Crisis because I just wanted to see what those dinosaurs look like if I can up-res them and change some textures and stuff like that. And so I downloaded Dino Crisis and then loaded it up, and it kept giving me this error that was like it's missing a bin file. So then I looked, and turns out I didn't have the BIOS.
Yep.
So I had to go get the BIOS, move that into the system folder.
Did
that. Then it started, it worked, but then like I wanted to up-res it. So then I went and was trying to find like the best like settings in an emulator to have PS1 games just look awesome. And this is where I hit a brick wall. Was I find a video of a guy who is playing like some fighting game, some Japanese fighting game from PS1. And he's like, this is what it looked like when I originally booted it. This is what it looked like with my new settings. And it was just like night and day. So I was like, I want to do what that guy did on all the games that I'm playing on PS1 on this. So I watched his video, looked at what he was doing. And for some reason in my computer, in my RetroArch, I just don't see these settings that are these sliders that he's messing with. And so I don't know what to do. So I kept like trying to close it out, reload things. I actually ended up uninstalling the Steam version, then downloading the internet, like the regular online version, to see if I was missing some menu options because I downloaded it from Steam. That's not the case. I don't know. Not finding.
I can tell you the one that I use for my PlayStation stuff is it's not part of. I when I'm playing on my Steam Link, I use RetroArch, and that uses Beetle PSX. But when I'm playing on my computer, the one that really does the good stuff is called DuckStation. And it has like a wide.
And that's a different. That's not even in RetroArch. That's a whole different.
A separate emulator. Go to zofar.net to get that one. And you can try that out, like see, because I've had more luck like high up-resing things and ducks inside of DuckStation than I have inside of RetroArch, but it all kind of depends. And I don't know why it wouldn't give you the same options that guy had, but he might just have more like, because you can add filters and stuff. You can.
Well, no, I'm looking at. He's not the only one that I looked at. I looked at like 10 different people's like settings, and they were all very similar. I just don't have these options in there. And I don't know why. I don't know why my menu doesn't populate that stuff.
That's weird.
Yeah. It did come like so. Oh, I just thought about this. So there's like Beetle, and then there was like Beetle something
beta.
Yeah. Maybe I should open the Beetle something.
Yeah. Try move around through the different cores, especially if you can see all the options that are in the download list. Because you're never going to find exactly what you want right away, at least as far as I found when it comes to emulation. Like you got to do a lot of experimentation, but once you get the settings right, then you'll know exactly what you want to do
and then you can save that core right that way.
Yeah, you can save that core, yeah, and
those settings intact.
It'll save those settings for that the next time you load that game. Yeah, and if you go,
but do you have to change those settings for each game that you load up?
I think it saves in a game by game basis, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
I think that's the way that it works. Because you can if you fiddle with the options enough, I know you can set it to that. That's why some options, I noticed this, it took me a while to notice it. Some options only populate when you have the game running, and some are under that quick menu, some are not under the quick menu, some are under the regular ass menu settings, and they're in look like they're this like options appears in both, but they're different options under each one. And they're also different options for each emulator. So you might need to load a different emulator. You might want to check and see what emulator they were running, because they might have been running something different than Beetle regular. They might have been running like, Beetle HD or Beetle something else.
Okay. That
just
probably is what it is, because I was running regular ass Beetle. I know there was another Beetle option there that I could probably
like 4 or something like that.
For specifically PlayStation.
Yeah.
That I should probably jump and look at that one, which I don't know why I'm not thinking about that until just now. Instead, I spent 3 hours last night banging my head against a wall.
That seems about right.
Katie got home from work at like midnight and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like leaned back in the chair like the guy from South Park in the World of Warcraft episode. Just like leaning back, just like, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, it was great. It was great.
Speaking of modifying games, I have been playing. Do you have any of those games where you just like get in a mood sometimes and you're like, I just want to do this right now. I just want to do this game.
Hell yeah. All the time.
So for me, that's Skyrim. I own Skyrim on the 360, the PS3, PS4, PS5, and PC. And I almost bought the anniversary edition on the PC today, but I withheld. So today I was just like, what do I want to, I was doing emails for work and stuff. And I was like, what do I want to do while I'm waiting on these emails to be responded to? I was like, why don't I mod the shit out of Skyrim and see how good I can make it look? Because I haven't done that since I've gotten this new PC. And boy, you can make Skyrim look really fucking good.
I'm sure.
I have these mods on there now that let me start, like, you don't have to do that whole scenario, right? When you know how when you start Skyrim, you do the prisoner
You're
ride,
riding in the back of the wagon, the dragon comes, all that shit.
So there's a mod called alternate start where you pick like a new scenario. You can start like as one of the like part of a guild quest. You can start as like Dark Brotherhood or Fighters Guild. It'll load you in there with all the quest markers tagged. So you're literally doing that. You can start like camping on the side of a mountain. You can be in the Civil War as part of the Red Cloaks or the White Cloaks.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
You can start as like a prisoner. You can start like, it gives you like basically 15 or so different scenarios that you can start as, and that's how you start the game, which is super satisfying after having played that intro.
That's refreshing.
15 times.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've like played through that scenario, because I think I bought it on PS3, PS4, Switch. Was it on PS2? Was PS3?
No,
it was PS3, PS4, Switch. I bought it on PC. I bought it 4 times.
Yeah.
And the first time I beat it was on my Switch, actually.
Nice. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So I added a bunch of graphical mods to it and a bunch of gameplay mods. The best one of the best ones is the Skyrim like UI mod. I think Skyrim's UI is absolute fucking trash. Like, it sucks. Like, half the time you're just like clicking through these like sliding menus, and that's how you equip stuff like in an RPG. Like, what the who thought that was a good idea? It's bad. So this makes it more like an old school RPG where you have actual like, layered list of stuff, armor separations, and you can see what like stats all on the screen.
Can you compare items and shit a little better?
Items, yeah, you can see. I mean, it just lays it out in a list format. So like if you're looking at like a broadsword and a steel sword, you can see the difference between the stats just at a glance without having to scroll through it. It's a night and day difference. Like it's made specifically for mouse and keyboard too. So that part of it is also super satisfying.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, it still remains a fantastic game. I know there's a lot of haters out there these days, but it remains a fantastic game that like I can see
people hate on Skyrim.
Yeah, they're like, it's not as good as everyone thinks it is, shit like that.
Oh, hell no. That's crazy, dude. But maybe we're old fogies at some point. Like,
I think a lot of
these kids, they don't know Skyrim,
Well, a lot of people are old school Elder Scrolls fans. Like, they love Morrowind or they love Oblivion.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because I will say, like, the differences in those kind of gameplay systems are pretty stark. but I'll take the trade and like being able to wander this incredible immersive world as opposed to being able to role play, because the role playing in Skyrim is not very good, but the world building and the immersion is basically there's nothing else like it. Like
Yeah,
maybe
and like being able to
Ring
pick up,
maybe,
you can
but
literally pick up like 30 quests.
yeah,
Be like,
you
which
just
one
get
of these
to,
do I feel like doing right now? And like,
yeah,
oh, I can do this one that's going to take me to the top of a mountain, or I can take this one that's going to take me into a swamp with a volcano in it.
yeah. It's like a life simulator at some point as opposed to like an RPG, which is a good way to look at it, because you can't really like you're not going to do like the role playing that you can from especially like Morrowind, but you're going to be able to, like you say, see these vistas and these crazy dungeons that they've created and all this other stuff in a way that the game was made over 10 years ago and it continues to look, because of mods and stuff, look incredible. So I'm very much a big fan of that.
So Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, right?
Yep.
I know they did that announcement
Teziv.
trailer for 6.
Yeah.
Which was basically just like a camera pan over a mountain, and then it just says like Elder Scrolls 6.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
It's like a waterfall, but yeah.
Yeah, something like that. When the hell do you think that's going to come out?
2026.
2026?
I mean, that even might be early. Like Starfield is coming out this year, almost certainly.
Hopefully.
And that would only be 4 years from now. And for reference, the last time they put out like Fallout, I guess Fallout 76 was their last game, and that was in 2017, I think. So that's been 5 years. So, or maybe it was 2018, but
that's
yeah,
Bethesda, right?
Bethesda, yeah. So
they did Doom.
Nope.
Oh, that's id.
They bought id before Microsoft bought them.
It all gets twisted up with all the purchases. Everybody's buying each other and shit.
Fallout 4, Fallout 76 were the 2 last games they did.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did not realize that 76 was the last game they did. I thought in my head, Doom. In my head, they were also making Doom.
They were publishing Doom at the time.
Yeah.
But now Microsoft is their publisher. So
good lodi wodi.
Yeah. I mean, they also published Dishonored and Prey and the Arcane games, the id games, like a bunch of stuff. But the last their internal development studio, Bethesda Studios, was Fallout 76. So got a little ways to go, I think, before we get 6, but I'm very much looking forward to Starfield. So
okay. Sorry, I just accidentally changed my input language.
Cool.
That's not good. Input language switching. Typing left. Oh, should change your input language. You can turn this feature off. Okay. I hope I didn't just change my input language.
Cool.
Hold on just a second. Okay, we're good. Never mind. Yeah, so where are you in the story? Have you changed the story up any more than just the intro?
I haven't done any of the story. I've just been wandering around killing. I mean, I have a weapon or realistic combat mod on, so I can't go too far into any one given area without getting killed. So,
realistic combat? What is that? Like one hit death?
A lot of one hit deaths, just more like instead of whacking at things for like half an hour, everything takes more damage, including yourself. So it's a little, I wouldn't say Dark Soulsian, but it's a little more like you have to plan especially if you're using like arrows and stuff, you can do headshots, you can sneak attack. If you're like a thief character, you can do a lot of one hit kills, sneaking on things, which is very satisfying because I also have a mod for the death cam. So if you sneak up behind somebody, it always gives you the death cam animation of them like stabbing them in the back.
Oh, like kind of like God, like Ghost of Tsushima or like Assassin's Creed, like go up and
just murder someone. Yeah, exactly like that. And they have like canned animations for each one of those, like depending on if you're using a sword or a knife or like an axe. So very cool stuff. It's very satisfying, I will say, to just wander this world and be like, oh, I see a fucking, like earlier I was like, that looks like a castle over there. I'm just gonna go see what that is. And it was like an abandoned ruin that had been taken over by the Falkreath. And I went in there and murdered all of them and stole their treasure, and then went back to the town that was right below it. And they were like, we need you to go take care of these Falkreath. And I was like, I already did. And they're like, thank you. So,
So one thing I noticed a lot, or at least I guess this is probably just because the most time I spent with Skyrim was when I played it on Switch, which I think is kind of akin to probably the PS3 as far as graphics capabilities and CPU capabilities.
that's probably running 30 frames like the old school console
Also,
versions.
one thing I noticed was pop in, like very significant pop in for distance stuff. Can you? I'm sure there are some like I'm sure like the stuff in the distance like looks great.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have LOD mods, which is like load or something order distance, something like that, and it basically makes it so there's no pop in. So everything, and it has like dense foliage. It looks like almost a different game at some point. Like it looks so good that it almost looks like you're playing a different game than the one that you played in 2011 or the one you played on the Switch.
Hell yeah. Dude, so one of my favorite enemies in Skyrim was the what is it, the stone crab?
Yeah.
Love me some stone crabs.
You gotta hit them in like the little weak point in the center of their mouth.
Yeah, dude. And they're just there's a little they almost look like they don't even want to hurt you. They're just like running around, but it's like, oh, they definitely want to hurt you.
They do want to hurt you.
So there are also crab enemies that I just discovered in some Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Oh yeah.
Which I've been playing a lot of since I know we've already spoken about it once, but I think I misspoke last time we talked about it a couple times. And I kind of want to clear up some stuff about what kind of goes on in that game as far as class systems and overworld and things like that. But what do you say we take a quick break and grab another beer and then come talk about that?
All right, sounds good.
Word. All right, everybody. We will be right back with more booze and games. I'm going to chug this real quick. Ooh.
Oh, that did have a pop.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Cheers, everybody. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Episode 16, Gaming and Drinking Cast. I'm drinking a beer that does not pop like your typical bottle. It pops more like a water bottle you get at a fancy restaurant. And it's a Grolsch Pilsner.
Grolsch. It's fun to say.
This was a brewery started in 1615. Let's see. I don't even know where they're out of. I think it's Belgium or Germany, one of the two. Doesn't say. Okay, so it's 5%. It's 15.2 ounces. I don't know where Grolsch is from, so yeah, it's a European Pilsner though. What do you have delicious.
There? I am drinking another Event Horizon from New Hickory. Old Hickory. It is let's see, let me get this right. Imperial Stout, bourbon barrel aged with honey, cinnamon, vanilla, cocoa, and habanero peppers. One of my favorite beers ever. This one is 12.3%. So
hell yeah.
Trying to catch up to you. Grolsch is a Dutch brewery. It's in the Netherlands.
Yep. And so this beer, I don't know if this says anything about the quality or not. I haven't tried it yet. But in this sweet ass bottle, I got this literally just for the bottle because I'm doing my glass cutting thing where I'm like trying to make cool shit out of bottles. This seemed like a cool one. Or even if I just wanted to like put like you could put olive oil in this thing or something, like with this stopper top that it's got.
Right.
Super cool. But I got it specifically for the bottle, but it only cost me $2.99 at Total Wine.
Oh, that's darker than I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be like a really light Pilsner.
I mean,
oh, it is pretty light. Okay.
Yeah, it's just
the
was
lighting when you had it down.
Yeah,
up against your shirt.
It's a very, very light Pilsner. Okay. It does have some malt to it though. It's a crisp, but it's got a little bit more malt than like
Your average crispy boy.
Yeah, than like Stella or something like that. But yeah, not bad. It was founded in 1615 by Willem Neerfelt. In case anybody was wondering about the history of Grolsch. But yeah, so before we left off, we were talking about stone crabs. And you know, they are very significant in Skyrim. And what I've found is that I was not expecting this, but there are crab enemies in Tiny Tina's Wonderlands as well. And the reason for that is, by the way, spoilers for World 1/2 of Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. So that game, it's opened up a little more. And you know how I told you last week, you go into the overworld and you're kind of like in these big fields and you're running around through tall grass and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the big mission that I had been kind of avoiding and running around doing side quests instead of was to get my ship blessed by a bard so that then I could go to an island to fight the Dragon Lord. So I finally did all the side quests in World 1 and went to go get my ship blessed. And instead of blessing my ship, the bard
ship or shit?
Ship.
Okay.
My ship. I think it was called like piece of ship though, or something like that, like something stupid. Pile of ship or something. So instead of blessing my ship, the bard, who is like a heavy metal guy who plays a lute.
Oh, that's
get it?
What's his name from the other games? Gronk.
Yeah.
He's in
guy with the glasses, like huge jacked guy.
He just yells everything.
He's like loot, and then he's like, and every time he cusses, it like does like some weird music sound to like bleep it out.
He's one of the only things that I found funny in Borderlands 3.
Yeah, well, he's the bard in this game.
That's pretty good.
And so instead of blessing it, he's like, this is rocking so hard, we're not just gonna bless it, we're gonna shoot some magic missiles. And then like, instead of blessing your ship, a giant nuke comes out of the ocean and like just your ship goes with it. And then he shoots, like there's like just missiles flying over it because the island that you're trying to go to is way off in the distance. And he just shoots like a freaking armada of rockets toward the island, and they all land in the ocean. And he straight up blows up the ocean, like just destroys the whole ocean. And the animation in that scene is really cool. Like it's amazing. The way they do it, because it literally like just like you look up and it's just like this giant mushroom cloud towering above you, and then the ocean, like this giant like 50-foot wave comes and washes over you, but then it goes away and you've just got a dry ocean bed in front of you. And it's like now you have to cross the ocean to get over there on foot.
That's pretty good.
So then you go into the next world, and the next world is like they call it the Notion. And so you go down there, and
that's pretty good.
Yeah, and I just reached that point, and when you get there, so another thing I think I said last week was that there's really no class differentiation. You get your one class and that's it. But at that point, you get to add a second class to yourself. So when I started out, I was the spell shot, which basically, like I said, is a spellcaster. You get 2 spells and you can just kind of run through shit that way. The second class that I picked up was the Clawbringer, which basically I have a wyvern familiar that flies around with me now.
Oh, cool.
And so I can do a bunch of badass spells.
The Beastmaster class in the last game, which is what I was.
Yeah, but in this game, there are 2 classes that can have you run around with a minion. One is the Clawbringer, the other is the Spore Warden. The Spore Warden is you get a mushroom minion that runs around and does poison damage.
Yeah.
The Clawbringer, you get a wyvern that runs around and does electric damage.
So in Borderlands 3, your Beastmaster could choose 3 different familiars that they had. It sounds like in this game they just split that up into 2 different classes.
Yeah, and you, I think you had the what's it called? Your minion that ran around with you.
Well, I had it set to Skag, but I could do one. I could do you get to switch between them on the fly. Like you can choose, and the Beastmaster can go to any of those that he wants to use.
Okay.
It's like your different skill. So you can like mix and match within that skill tree at Borderlands 3. So you can pick like, I want this, like I want to go down this skill tree, but I want to have this perk from this animal. And then I infuse it with this other like thing, which like for one of them makes them blow up really big. One of them, it makes it like run around healing your people. It's like you can like mix those on different classes, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so they kind of do the same thing with this, except you just get to add an entirely new subclass, which when I did that, it now opens up a whole nother skill tree that I get to bring to the table. And
does that skill tree change depending on what your base class was?
No, you know? No, not at all.
Wait, so
I have two different skill trees that I get to pick and choose which skills I want on my buttons or as my passives or whatever.
So they don't like work in conjunction with each other.
Not really, no. Let's see. So
it's
there is
like dual classing if you were in like
RPG. That's exactly what it is. You are dual classing. In fact, I think Tiny Tina screams that at you. You're now dual classing.
Or some really shit. Good Tiny Tina impression.
Thank you. Yeah, no. So yeah, I know last week I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I'm set in the spell shot, but no, yeah, now I am a spell shot / clawbringer.
I thought when I was asking you about that, I thought I'd heard that you do get to dual class. That's why I was asking about that stuff. But it's still just, so do you remember in the original Borderlands 3, there was like 3 tiers on your skill tree? You could swap between all 3 of them.
Yeah.
This just has the 2 from each class, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's a little bit, it's more robust and a little less robust at the same time.
Yeah.
Because you're not locked into the 3. You can kind of choose what your second one is, but there's only 2 trees.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Exactly. So it's pretty neat. I do enjoy it quite a bit. However, I was min-maxing for the spell shot big time. Like I was putting every single point I had into spell cooldown because his ult was you get to have as many spells or have 2 spells instead of a spell and an ultimate.
Do you have to choose one ult between the 2?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So now I cannot, if I want to have my wyvern run around with me, I cannot have my 2 spells anymore. Which it is what it is. But now I'm actually min-maxing for companion damage. So I want my wyvern to be able to run around and fuck shit up for damage. Me. Yeah. So it's cool though to be able to try out a whole new class. I haven't really dug in too deep as to like how I can have those skills complement each other. But that's one thing that these Borderlands do great is that you can spend as much or as little time as you want figuring out how to best have your skills and equipment complement each other. Yeah. So I will dig into that for sure as far as like how I can have my wyvern and my skills from spell shot complement each other. But one cool ass enemy that I found was the different crabs. Now that I'm running around the ocean, dude, there are like, they're basically like hermit crabs, but there's like a coral crab and a stone crab. And the coral crab straight up is just like a hermit crab with a bunch of like coral popping up out of his back. And if I start shooting it, it'll dive into the dirt and then I just can't hit it while it's in the dirt at all. And so like it'll dive in the dirt and then like I'll get swarmed by these other enemies and then I'll try to come back to that and it'll still just look like there's a whole bunch of coral all over the place. I won't know which one is the crab. So it's really cool. You got to focus on where where you're aiming those shots. But yeah, World 2 is definitely a lot different than World 1. I will tell you that much. I wasn't expecting it.
I like the idea of a Borderlands experience that doesn't have you running. I reinstalled Borderlands 3 after our discussion last week because I was like, man, I do want some Borderlands. But man, running around those big ass maps sucks. It sucks. It is not fun. Like I think the idea of going into like a mission, like a world, like you're saying, or whatever, and then getting in there, doing it, and then popping back out to the overworld sounds a lot more fun than running around those barren lands where there's nothing there except miles of terrain in between you and the next fun thing to do.
Yeah, it's definitely like the biomes are a lot smaller, and there's more to do in a denser area, which makes for
this, which makes sense that that's the way they designed it, because you can't ride around and pad the game length of
yeah. I mean, the way they padded it in Borderlands was you get a vehicle, but then all of a sudden there's 4 other vehicular enemies that are running around with you, so you're
kill at the same time.
Yeah, so they padded it out that way.
I think the idea that it sounds like they did a lot of smart things with this game. They took some of the criticism of Borderlands 3 to heart, and that's a good thing.
I mean, but don't get me wrong, they do pad this game out in the overworlds. You do have, like I was saying last week, the tall grass or seagrass in the second world where like you'll have random encounters, but you have the option to avoid those.
Yeah.
So that's great. But the main things I wanted to touch on this week were just the fact that, okay, yeah, you can dual class. And also there's different biomes. And I'm sure that, I mean, I'm only in the second one. I don't know how long it's going to be till I get to a third one or how many there are. I've heard this game isn't that long, but the way I'm playing it, where I am literally trying to do every single side quest, which is a lot to do in a Borderlands game. Yeah. But I think the way that they've compacted this one, I think that it might be the way to play this one. If you're trying to get like just a regular length, RPG instead of a 90-hour RPG where most of it's padding, I think you could get a good regular length RPG out of this. You just have to deal with. I have found that the more I play it, the more annoyed I'm getting with the dialogue.
Shocking.
I'm starting to lose it a little bit whenever Tiny Tina or like, you know, these NPCs that I come across, they all have like dick jokes.
Dialogue, I'm sure.
Just lines and lines of dialogue that I don't give 2 shits about, and also that's just not funny.
Yeah,
like they're trying really hard,
trying
real hard to be funny, but not really hitting that mark. Like there was one demon guy. There's this whole side quest that I did of this tiny little like demon minion who's trying to possess a cult of people, and I'm spending probably an hour and a half doing a mission for this demon so I can help him possess this cult. It's cool because you can decide whether or not you want to do the good thing or the bad thing, and I was like, no, I want to help you possess these guys, which that's neat. The fact that you can decide which one you want to do. But then I had to deal with this demon's dick jokes for the next 2 hours.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Sounds like it's overall probably a better game though. So
for sure. I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm definitely gonna keep playing it. And hopefully eventually you'll jump in there with me and we can do some shit there.
I'll get there one day.
Yeah. Speaking of jumping in with me, man, we also played some golf with your friends together the other night.
Yeah, and I think this game is mislabeled because it is not a golf game.
It is a putt-putt.
It's not even a putt-putt game. It's a pool game.
No, it's a putt-putt game.
No, it is a pool-ass game. If this were, imagine that the courses
what is putt-putt but not pool with sticks with
except that putt-putt, you're overhead there's an overhead thing going on here. This, you're literally behind the ball, lining up a shot like you would with a pool cue.
That's how all putt video games are.
Nah, dog. Go back to the old computer games. You got a little Mario standing over a guy. Like, that's how it should be. I don't like this. I not super familiar with the world of putt games, but being behind the, like we talked about when we were playing it, like the camera seems to be the biggest detractor in this game.
Yeah.
So we should set this up. It's a co-op putt. It's basically nightmare putt. So like think about all the Myrtle Beach classic putt courses that you can imagine, dinosaur kingdoms and pirate ships and cyberpunk stuff. And imagine that the person who created them did a shit ton of cocaine and then went and designed a bunch of courses out of it. There's like,
and also had millions of dollars to
create a space station. I will say that some of the later levels in like that cyberpunk area got kind of Portal-esque, and that was actually really fun. But there's less of that and more of the like how I missed this shot for whatever reason because of the camera. You can't like so like the gameplay is you're behind the ball. It literally looks like if you were playing, if the course was replaced by a billiards board, it would be a pool game. So like you're behind so imagine that because you're behind the ball. And then
if my grandma had wheels, she'd be a bicycle.
What? What? That's
you said if the course was replaced with a billiards table, it would be billiards.
But I mean, like the gameplay is exactly the same. It would be more like if your mama's wheelchair, or if your grandma's wheelchair was replaced with a bicycle thing, she'd be riding a bicycle. That's more akin to it. She's still in a wheelchair. Her movement is the same way. This is just that kind of game, except that you're hitting the pool ball through a bunch of obstacle courses and not a billiards table. Like the gameplay wise, it's functionally just a pool game.
Yes, but pool games and putt games in general forever, as far as I know, except for, like, that old school Mario putt style. In general, putt games have been very similar to pool games forever.
Well, be that as it may, the fact remains that that's probably this game's biggest detriment because of that. The way that the camera lines up behind the ball, it's very hard to tell where your shot's going to go. And we should say that it doesn't give you like a line of sight on where your ball's going to go, which a lot of golf games do. And a lot of other putt games, even if they're behind the back, do that as well. This game
just said do twice.
I know, because they do that. They don't just do that. They do that. But like, like how so there's no line of sight, like no line of imaginary thing that goes out and tells you where you're going. So you're just winging it half the time. And so the challenge isn't necessarily like, what you're supposed to do in your head, because you can kind of like, you get like 15 seconds to roam the landscape and look at where you're supposed to go. You know what you're supposed to do, but the physicality of like doing it is limited because of the camera.
I do like that. So yes, it's limited because of the camera, but there are a couple things there. One is that you can zoom the camera back, and that will give you a better idea of what you need to do, or how hard you need to hit the ball, or where there is something coming forward.
I never got the hang of how hard you're supposed to hit the ball, and I don't think you really did it either. Like that part. Again, if there was like a line of sight thing, how like the golf games, they come out with like a little, basically like, and it gets longer the more you hold it. Like if you just had something like that, it would change this game completely. He's got his squeaky. But like it would change this game in huge ways. But instead, you're just like fumbling in the dark, and I think that hurts the game a little bit.
Yes. I agree with like there could be more as far as UI goes to like give you more a sense of exactly what you're gonna like, where you're holding your mouse, knowing what is gonna happen when you release it. Like that's a big issue. One thing I really do like about this game though is that like these holes and these obstacles that they have, like you will have a hole that goes straight ahead through a giant valley of spider webs, and then out, and then you gotta like shoot it through fucking King Kong's legs, and then around another turn where there's like a rotating windmill. Like it's just there's so much stuff going on there, and then there will be like these like basically thwomps that come and like knock the ball off, and so there's a lot of that going on. And if you just leave the camera behind the ball, you won't see any of that except for that valley of spider webs right at the very beginning. And so like one cool thing is that like they give you the option to like free roam the camera around the hole, but you only get that 15 seconds to do it. So like we're sitting there and we're both kind of roaming around the hole, and then all of a sudden we're both back and we're like, did you catch all that?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. We're about to find out. And so then we both play the hole. It is difficult, and it does make it hard as far as like not knowing the hardness of how you're going to hit the ball. I feel like that comes with practice. But one thing that I appreciate is that like they don't give you the option to just like play out and look at this hole as long as you want to. It's like you're going to get a few seconds to look at it, and then you're just going to have to play.
Well, I agree with you, and I think that the course design is very good in this game. Like that is the highlight of the game for the most part. I think some of the scenarios are a little like weirdly designed, like places where like your and my ball got trapped off to the side, and you had to hit off a place where you're clearly supposed to not be hitting it from. That kind of sucked. But for the most part, I think the courses are very well designed, and it does lead to some like hilarious interactions and stuff. By the way, if you want to watch us play, it's on twitch.tv/gaming and drinking. You can watch our entire playthrough of like 3 different entire courses. I think we did the pirate ship, we did the woods, the forest, and then we did the
haunted library.
We did four because we did the haunted library, the forest, the pirate ship, and the cyberpunk area. The space station.
We played for a good 2 hours there the other night.
Yeah. So you should check that. It's actually a really funny stream. Watch me get very frustrated, and Adam laugh a lot at me. So
well, the camera did frustrate the shit out of me though.
Yeah,
especially
frustrating. It is.
Yeah, especially like, so one thing that it took, I was doing it from the beginning, and it was just because it was on a mouse roll. Like you can roll the mouse back and like zoom back on the camera. And I don't think you realize that for like the first like 8 or 9 holes.
Yeah.
And then, but even with that, like if you're stuck up against the wall, if you're stuck up against any kind of obstacle, that camera is stuck up against that obstacle.
Right.
And that's frustrating as shit.
Like it tries to do like a see-through thing so that you can like clip through the wall and see it through the camera, but they don't actually make any camera adjustments. So you're still basically pressed up against that wall. And again, that's where the pool thing comes back to, because it feels like you're trying to line up a shot.
Yeah,
like in a pool game where you're up against some kind of thing.
That shit is ridiculous. I hated that so much.
I think with a few tweaks, this game could be something special. Like if they do a sequel, if they add like what we're talking about with like the line of sight stuff, and they give you like a swing meter basically, but it's not like if you're used to a Tiger Woods style swing meter type thing, it is not that. Like you do not get that much.
Like all you're doing is you're clicking the mouse, you're dragging it forward to make it more powerful, and then you're releasing the mouse.
Yeah.
And the way that I'm pretty sure that it's on like a parabolic kind of meter, even though they don't show you that.
It's just
it's just a straight line. So like you could, if you barely push the mouse forward at all, it's only going to go a foot. But then if you go just a little bit past that, it's going to go 10 feet. So
and there you don't really ever get a good gate. Like sometimes I felt like I was hitting it like perfectly, and it would shoot far like it's never shot before. And sometimes I'd blast the shit out of it, and it wouldn't go as far as I thought it would. Like it never felt. I think that's the problem, is that the game, all the setup is very good, but the feeling of the actual like putt never quite settled for me in a way that was satisfying. Like I never got a handle of it as something that like felt good. Like I got it to the point where I could make it work, but it never actually felt very good. And I think a lot of that has to do with the camera and the lack of like maybe I'm just used to like Tiger Woods or PGA Tour, stuff like that, where I'm used to like a meter, an actual swing meter, and having like that line of sight that comes out and stuff like that. Without that stuff, it just felt limited.
Yeah. Like camera and UI.
Yeah.
Those two things. If they fix those two things, this game would be amazing.
Yeah,
and it's kind of shocking to me that because those are both so important when it comes to a golf game, that those two things were not addressed there. But I do appreciate the layout of the levels and the creativity they had when it came to creating this game.
Yeah, and I think you got that part right. Like because the layouts are great, the course design is great, and actually the ball physics are pretty good too. Like I think that's super important. It feels like they put all their effort into the like ball physics and course design, and maybe the UI and the camera control was secondary.
Yeah,
because they got those two things very good and the other two things very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe with a sequel,
golf with your friends and family.
That's a good title. All right, so that was something we played. We're going to try to do more of those kind of streams and some multiplayer stuff. We think that's pretty fun. We'll probably definitely check back in on that game. But there's been some big news that has come out in the past few weeks. One of the bigger stories we're going to get to in a second. I just want to touch on something small real quick. One of my favorite games ever is Hyper Light Drifter. That is a top-down Zelda-esque game with no dialogue, literally no English in it at all. It's beautiful. It has incredible music. It's got some of the best fluid combat that you've ever seen in a game.
Is that game on Game Pass?
It is.
It is.
I
need to look into that because if it is, I have
it on Steam. I don't know if it's on.
About to look.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on Game Pass. I have it on Steam. It's very good. I also have it on PS4. I have it on 2 different platforms. No, it's not.
Oh.
There's a game that looks like it called like Star Scourge or something like that. It has the same kind of art style, but it's not as good. But it is a great game. If you haven't played it, play it. Those guys, Heart Machine, that's the developers. They did a game a few months ago called, I forgot the name of it. I was very excited for it, but I don't think it didn't turn out to be what I wanted. It's more of a free from roaming game. And it didn't quite satisfy like what I wanted from that team. And it was called Solar Ash. It's kind of like a skateboarding game almost. It's all about movement and stuff. So the movement in Hyper Light Drifter is very good, but and they turned this into like a 3D thing and made it almost like a skateboarding thing, which is good, but that's not quite what I was looking for. Well, now they're combining the two and they're making a follow-up to Hyper Light Drifter called Hyper Light Breaker. And it basically combines Solar Ash and Hyper Light Drifter into one game, which is exactly what I wanted from them.
Wait, combining what?
Hyper Light Drifter and Solar Ash. Yeah, it's a 3D movement from
Solar
Ash.
Is it 3D?
Yeah.
Okay, because all I've seen is that announcement trailer where it's literally just like
the announcement trailer has gameplay in it.
Is that gameplay?
Yeah, where the 3D characters like going through the thing. Yeah, and you can play as different characters because it ends on a second character. So they've announced there's going to be like 6 characters.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I literally thought that was all just like a cinematic.
That's gameplay.
Oh shit.
So that's and then that reveal ends on a different character. So it looks like I think there's 4 or 5 characters because the title has like 4 characters around it or 5. So there's going to be multiple characters. The fluid movement of Solar Ash with the combat of Hyper Light Drifter. So count me in. I am very, very excited for that. But it's also a ways away. I think it enters early access in early 2023. So we will see.
Early access 2023.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But that should be on everybody's radar. And if you have not played Hyper Light Drifter yet, try it out. If you like Zelda games, it is one of the best ones of those that I've played in a very long time.
I will have to find one of those. But hey,
it doesn't sell a lot on Switch and stuff. So
yeah, I have seen it on Switch sales, and now
I don't know if you want to play it on Switch, but
wait, I think I have it. Was it on PS Plus a while back?
It might have been.
I think I might have that on PS4.
You might.
And if I do, I will be playing that tonight.
It's a very good game.
So, hey, what do you say before we get into the couple of news stories we got? Let's take one more quick break.
Okay.
All right. So we will be right back, everybody, with more booze and games.
Hello.
Am I the
Welcome
only one
back.
drinking in this episode of Gaming and Drinking?
I got this. I'm just not as good as you at drinking, I guess.
Mm.
I'm drinking slow tonight. I'm also what we were just talking about, like I'm trying to get back in shape, so I'm cutting my beer intake. So 2 beers an episode now is where I'm going with things. That's how I'm
I've
trying to
had
limit it.
1, 2 beers and a liquor drink, right? That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, that Diet Coke or that Coke had like that Coke
Pepsi.
It was that Pepsi.
It was a Pepsi.
It was a thick boy.
Pepsi still exists.
It was a thing. It does still exist. I just found that out tonight. But yeah, I'm limiting, trying to get that bod for the summer. So
same. And you know how I'm doing it?
Eating pizza and eating chips
with loyal vodka drinks.
Sponsored ad.
Nope, not at all. This is a.
Does it say 9%?
You're
not gonna even be able to walk out of that room.
Katie's gonna come over and be like, "What the fuck have you been doing tonight?" I'm like, "I just did the podcast."
Podcasting. That's what we do on our podcast. We drink.
I mean, this is. I literally like, as far as drinking goes, I have cut back significantly. This night is like my drinking night. I drink a little bit, maybe a couple more times during the week, but like as far as like drinking, this is it for me.
That's a good night to do it.
Yeah. I really love it.
Yeah.
Good time.
Lyall 9% vodka drink. Loyal.
Yeah, mixed berry lemonade. Dude, this shit is fucking delicious.
Is that on the liquor side of the store?
It's on the liquor side of bottles.
Yeah, so it's like High Noon, but not with fiber. My problem with High Noon has always been like, why the fuck would I get one of these expensive ass cocktail drinks when they A, taste like just like a White Claw, and B, there's the exact same ABV. Now 9%. That'll get me to change over.
They were doing a tasting of this at Bottles the other day when I was going there to pick up that bullet actually, and then I was also like getting beer for the podcast and champagne for Katie and all that shit. And I go in and this girl's like, "Hey, you want to try some vodka drinks?" I was like, "Why not?" They were doing a tasting, much like me and you did.
Why not? Yeah.
On the other side of Total. So I tried it, and the first one I tried was this one, the mixed berry lemonade. Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Fuck, that's delicious." And then she's like, "You want to try another one?" I was like, "You know what? Just line them all up." I was like, just give me every flavor you got. I'll try them all.
Hell
and
yeah.
then she like, it was like 6 flavors, and she's just like, "All right, here you go."
Hey, that's what we were doing at our tasting. So like people, like that's what they're there for, to let you try them all, see which one you like the best.
So I tried them all. I went with the mixed berry, but like honestly, they were all delicious, dude. I highly recommend Loyal mixed berry or Loyal. They had a sweet tea, they had a lemonade, they had a sweet tea lemonade, they had a strawberry lemonade, they had a watermelon lemonade, just a bunch of flavors of and really good shit, and you can't even taste the alcohol at all.
Nice.
Shit is dangerous. I brought them home, and me and Katie split one that night, and Katie was like, "Oh shit, that's good." I was like, "Fuck yeah, it is." I was like, "Make sure you save one for my podcast." Mm-hmm. So she drank the other 2 the next day. And I was like, "I know you didn't drink all of mine." And she's like, "No, I left you one for the podcast. Don't worry." But she drank. If I wouldn't have told her to save me one, they would have all been gone within 24 hours.
That's pretty good. Speaking of gone within 24 hours.
Ooh.
That's a good one. That's pretty good. we have just received, not just received, this news is weeks old at this point, but coming in over the wire. We now know that E3, so E3 a while back, they didn't do anything physical since COVID started. So basically since 2019 was the last in-person show. 2020 was a mess where it was spread out over the course of like 4 months. Do you remember that? It was
2020
weird.
was really stupid.
2020 was
2020
was ridiculous. And we had to like kind of suss out our gaming stuff over the course of those 4 months, like try to pick out.
That was the first summer of games from Jeff Keighley.
I don't know if it was,
or was 2019.
I think 2019 might have been, but 2020 was when it picked up because E3 was in such shambles.
Yes, 2019 was the first one. And then when 2020 rolled around and he realized, like when Jeff Keighley realized, oh shit, E3 ain't gonna be in person. Yeah. Summer of games, boom.
I think I think that's the timeline for it.
And then there was also the Kind of Funny Games showcase with the
summer game. I think they've been doing Kind of Funny Games showcase for a little while, and that was like kind of separate from, it was like part of E3, but not like, it was a different thing. But Summer Games Fest was like Jeff Keighley's thing that really started to take shape around 2020 when the in-person show was canceled. And then in 2021, we got a way better organized, but still digital online only version of E3 that basically was just like Nintendo and Microsoft running their, directs, whatever version Microsoft had of it. Okay, well, we'll get to that. But this year, what was supposed to happen was like the same exact online digital showcase for E3 in its limp form, I guess. They weren't going to do an in-person show for whatever reason, and they canceled it.
I mean, where else do they go except canceling it? Like, to be honest,
if you can't do the in-person show, and now that vendors know that they don't have to pay the insane amounts of money to be showcased at E3 that they were having to pay to get booths and stuff there, I don't think that they would have, even if they'd tried to put on an in-person show. Because remember, before even 2020 happened, they were like pivoting to like, remember they were like, get photos taken with an NBA star and like all those weird things they were trying to do.
What were they called? They were called
online activations.
Activations. Yeah, we talked about these last year. I think last year, when we very first started this podcast was when they were talking about the different kinds of activations they were going to do, online activations. And by online, they didn't mean on the internet. They meant
they meant on the line, standing in a line.
Yeah. And so
terminology.
Yeah. So like that was literally like the first or second episode was that shit. And
so like, if you can't do, so for you and I know we talked about this before, not on the podcast, but E3, the first, second week of June was like Christmas time for us. We looked forward to it every year. I remember working at Pizza Joint. I would turn E3 on because it was hosted by like Spike TV at that point, and watch them on the Pizza Joint TVs at the bar, watch E3 for like 3 straight days. And it was like that was my Christmas. I looked forward to it every year. The first year I was dating Katie, I got so drunk one night watching E3 that I was starting Comer the next day. Like I was literally starting the next day, and I got in my van.
So you mean like 2 or 3 years ago?
It was like 3 years ago. Yeah. And I like went to go drive to like, not Total Wine. Yeah. Total Wine that Monday morning. Cause I used to have to be there at like 7:30 to meet the truck. But I was so drunk from getting hyped up at E3 that I threw up in my van and like go turn around, go change clothes and come back to work. Still work drunk as fucked up. But that was all because of E3. Like E3 was like a huge thing to me. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Wait, we gotta backtrack for a second. All right, first question.
Yeah.
You had to meet him at Total Wine on Harbison?
Yeah.
So you had to drive from your house 40 minutes to Harbison.
It's 25 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So it's like 30 from mine. So yeah, probably about. So 20 minutes to Harbison.
I didn't make it to Harbison. I did this on the highway. I turned around.
But you were in your work, you threw up in your work van,
Yep.
went home, changed clothes,
And then came back.
then went and met, was it Henry driving at the time?
No, it was Shane. You don't even know him. It
I was
a
about to say
long time
Henry
ago.
would have been like 15.
Yeah. No, this is way before Henry. This is when I had to deliver basically every order that I put in, and it sucked. It was awful. So I did that all hungover.
First day.
But
First day.
it was one of the very first days I worked there. I'd probably been working there for like maybe 2 weeks at that point.
Okay, but I was
But
like, if that's your
I was
very first
hyped.
day, that's a fucking hell of a first day.
No, it wasn't.
Dude.
It wasn't my very first day, but it was like one of my very first days. But I was hyped from the night before because it was a big, because it was Sunday night that I would have been doing that, and the Square Enix conference was always on Sunday night. So I can remember like how they used to do the conferences. It was like Bethesda and Microsoft and Square Enix on Sunday night, and then Monday would start with
Sony,
Nintendo,
yeah,
and then Sony would end it on Monday like evening. But yeah, like that, I still remember how all that went. That's how much E3 meant to me. And now it's like the thing that I'm glad it's kind of going away, because it's not what it was. And if it's not going to be what it was, if it's not going to be this momentous thing, I don't want it to just like do like G Fuel, promos and Bay booths and whatever. I want the like big showcase. Like I want the glam and the glitz. If it's not that, I don't want it.
One thing I'm kind of worried about though is these big publishers, big developers, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft. I don't think Microsoft is going to forget, but I worry about Sony forgetting mostly about having one big day in the year where you announce all of your shit and get it out there. Like you dominate headlines when you do that. And I think now that Sony in particular doesn't have that around E3, I think it's going to be a
if you remember,
trickle of news coming out of Sony for the rest of time. I don't see it. I don't see them ever having a big.
Well, they
do their state of plays now, but they don't.
But they did it last year. They did it last year. They did it, but they did it like, so Microsoft and Nintendo still had one in June, and then Sony did theirs in August. So that's why it felt like they didn't do it at the same time, because they waited like 2 months afterwards, and they did. It was still a big thing. It's when they announced God of War Ragnarok. It's when they announced Final Fantasy 16. Like it was a really big show. It lived up to the E3 thing, but not having it on the same day like all the other ones were, it made it feel like it wasn't part of the E3 thing, which is what they're going for, because they want those headlines separate from all that stuff. But they still did have that one big day where they announced their big shit. But yeah, I think that it is going to get lost in the shuffle, because now Keighley's doing the Summer Games Fest, which is, Microsoft and Nintendo have both already committed to that. We're going to see big games there, but it's not the same as having the 3 big conferences, the 3 big days, all in like, I think it was actually 2 days that they did. They just spread them out over the course of those 2 days. But like, man, it's the end of an era.
It is the end of an era, and I am gonna miss it. I hope that one day. I mean, E3 was kind of just the body that wrapped around these companies and put them all on the same stage.
It's put on by ESA. And thinking about that,
that was the conference put on by the ESA. But what I'm saying is, I hope that eventually one day, PlayStation or Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo decide, look, the rising tide raises all ships. Like if we all get together and we all have an event together and show that the gaming community is more than just my company or your company or the other company, then, we all get way more press than if we all just have our own individual days throughout the year. And that's just a fact. Like if Nintendo has a tree house or whatever, then that's not going to be nearly as big as if Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft all get together and they have all these blockbuster announcements at one time. And I think it might take a decade, but I think it's all going to cycle through again. And within the next 10 years, these companies are going to realize that if they get together and all have their big announcements, it's better for all of them than having their individual days.
Okay, so scenario, what if Keeley just buys the E3 name from the ESA and puts on E3 as the way he's doing Summer Games Fest, but as an in-person thing where he brings Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo and all the other publishers there?
If anybody can do it, Jeff Keighley can do it.
Yeah.
That's
what I was thinking about this the other day when they were talking about this, because Keeley's doing the Summer Games Fest, which Summer Games Fest is a fine name, but like it sounds kind of like something you would see on G4 Network or something like that. Like it doesn't sound like, it doesn't have the importance.
It sounds
like
way
E3
more
is like,
indie. It sounds way more indie.
E3 feels important. Like that name feels like it means something. So if there's some way that he could buy that name, you know that he would, especially if he got to control it all, like he's doing Summer Games Fest, and he knew, because he knows how to do it. He knows what he's doing. That I think that's the scenario where I can see them all coming back into the fold.
I think he would need to do a lot of negotiating with the big three before buying E3.
Yeah, make sure they're there, because otherwise, what's the point?
Dude, he could call it E3 and then just like for the number 3 on the logo, just put like Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and then it's just those 3. That could literally be the thing, and then like just his face for the E. I don't know, figure it out.
Jeff Grubb made a good joke that he could call it G3 because of Geoff is how he spells his name. Call it G3.
He does have a funny way of spelling Jeff.
Yeah. So RIP E3, pour one out. We'll miss you. Hopefully Summer Games Fest will make up for the lack of you, but man, I'm gonna fucking miss it. I really am.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when I was living in Florida, it might have been every year that I lived there. We would get together, even if we weren't. I didn't even have a PC capable of doing any kind of like OBS or anything like that. But we would get together on Zoom and watch conferences together.
Yep.
Because we both were like, let's see what happens.
Yep.
It was a good time.
That kind of, that's what I'm saying. Like that kind of, because Summer Games Fest is spread across so many weeks that it doesn't have the same importance.
There's not that day 2, day 3 of E3. Like this is where it's at.
Yeah. Like, those are the best days.
Yeah. The best of times, the worst of times.
Yep.
All right. So let's go ahead and close the show out. But first, I do want to bring up real quick. We still love Apex. I know we haven't talked about it in a couple episodes, but Apex Legends, we're still in season 12.
We did talk about the PS5 patch.
Yes.
But very, very briefly.
So we're gonna hit on this briefly too. But there was a huge leak of information about upcoming content for Apex Legends, which blew my damn mind. And I know that Apex has always been one of the leakiest of ships.
Yeah.
This one in particular, though, is just so much stuff that I really, really feel bad for Respawn.
Well, let's touch on some of the big things, because I think there's some cool things in here. One, Skull Town is coming back to Kings Canyon. That's the first thing I noticed.
That's the best. But dude, they leaked 9 legends.
9 legends, which if you think about it though, I think that'll change, because I feel like they iterate on these legends so much that I'm sure they're prototyping all of them. That's how Respawn does things, is they prototype. But like, remember that they were supposed to do the melee guy, and then they completely pivoted and like killed him off in a cutscene.
I feel like that was a planned leak though. Like I really think that was a planned leak.
It probably was, but
this is not planned.
No, this is definitely not. But but what I mean by that is it feels like Respawn kind of tries things out and sees what works and sees what doesn't. And I don't know that we're going to see all 9 of these new legends.
I don't think we will. But to see that they have character models made for them, to see that several of them have videos made of their ultimates and of their tacticals already. That's harsh, man. Like, that's real harsh. Is it bad that my favorite thing about this whole leak though is that spoilers for, I guess, the next 2 years of Apex, there is a screenshot of somebody carrying a Kimbo P20s.
The two guns. Yeah, I saw that. That was cool.
Dude, I've always said, why the fuck can't I carry 2 pistols?
Well, for balance purposes, that's why. But
yeah, but if they're bringing in a brand new energy pistol, that energy pistol, like, who knows? It's probably gonna stun the shit out of who is carrying the dual P20s.
So the other biggest thing besides the 9 heroes is the new map called the Divided Moon. And if you look at it, it might just be the art assets aren't fully done, but it kind of looks like a Fortnite map.
It does. It also
green. It has a big propeller in the middle. It looks cool as shit. I'll say that. It doesn't look nearly as big as the last one they did, which I was not a big fan of. I don't think any of us were. But this looks way more compact, way more along the lines of something like a Kings Canyon.
It kind of looks like if they combined Kings Canyon, it looks like a mashup of all the maps that they made so far. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Because they've got the terraformer in the middle, which would be the what's it called? The big laser beam.
Yeah. From World's Edge.
World's Edge. And then they got Bionomics over there in the southeast, which is it's like a World's water Edge version of water. God damn it. I can't even think right now. I'm fucking drunk. It's a water version of the thing.
Yeah. Well, what they probably did was they probably took the best parts of all of their maps, put them on one map, and now they're going to iterate on it and see what works the best.
I think that's what they did. I think, and if you look over here on the, are you looking at the map right now?
Yeah.
So on the west side over at Production Yard, that looks like the rocket site that we like to land on Kings Canyon, or not? Is it Kings Canyon? Like that looks like that, except it's on the east side on the other map.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of stuff that looks really reminiscent of other things, but that could be also because it's in development, and so they are obviously gonna be building out from what they've already got.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. They were like, these are the things that work. Let's combine them onto one epic map and then try to make it its own thing out of the pieces that we put together.
Yeah. Atmo B, that northeast corner over there, that is unfinished AF. Yeah. I think the corners of the map are very unfinished. I think the middle of the map, the terraformer, the kinetic battery, I think those two are probably the ones that they focused on to start with and then build out from there. Yeah. But yeah, that's getting way into the weeds. Let's get back out into our shit, which is I think I'm about to do some streaming. Nice. Some drunk gaming and drinking streaming.
Play some Tiny Tina's. Or Hyperlight Drifter if you have.
We'll see. I'm gonna stream something. That's for sure. And get real weird with it.
Nice.
But you got any other fun stuff to throw out there?
No, I think I'm good.
Well, in that case, I think that's gonna do it for episode 16 of the Gaming and Drinking Cast. Thank you, world. Whoever's listening. Thank you, internet.
You loyal listeners. Get it?
Loyal vodka. Loyal, you're small enough. You might want to send me a drink or two. I can drink these on stream.
Loyal, if you're watching.
Loyal. I will be loyal.
Gaming and drinking at gmail.com.
At Gmail. gaming and drinking at gmail.com.
Hashtag sponsored.
Oh God. All right, that's gonna do it, guys. Y'all have a good one. Cheers, internet. Cheers, Travis.
Cheers.
Peace.
That was the strangest. Cheers, Bruce.
This is what I do. Cheers. Let's try it again. Cheers, internet.
Peace. I said cheers, and then you said Bruce.
Set the place on fire.